Okay, welcome to Faith and Calm. This is class number 225, 225 for those who are able to count. Um, my goodness, how did we get to such a big number? I don't know. I don't really know. That's quite interesting. That's impressive. And it's helped us a lot. Oh yeah, well, we'll fix that soon enough. Sukkah is up. The lights are in. All that's left is the table and to clean the windows, and then we'll be ready to go.
Did you start recording?
Yes, I did. So, but again, so what I said that this class is going to cover how we get from Yom Kippur to Sukkot, how we take that new energy that I talked about in the previous classes, the new energy that never existed in the world before. It's a completely new opportunity to make a completely new you. That in all the old stereotypes about what you were and who you thought you were and how the world could operate don't apply, because there's a whole new energy that came in 5785, and so but it's not yet revealed yet. And so we're going to talk about how that process goes, of how what happens between the Rosh Hashanah to Yom Kippur, then to Sukkot, and how we capitalize on that new capability. And then I forgot to tell that. I didn't have time to tell that story last week. So for those of you who are waiting, the story will come this week. I remember, which I hope I can remember. What can I say? I'm not wearing glasses.
So put on your glasses.
Why should I put on glasses? I look better. I don't need the glasses, really, not for this anymore. And hopefully tomorrow they're going to fix me up, and so I will not need glasses for this kind of.
That's spectacular. It's something to be grateful for.
There is some problems there. I'm not going to talk about it, but
okay.
I'm hoping that they'll be able to fix that. So anyway, and
maybe you could give us your Hebrew name and we could daven for you.
Oh, sure. Yecheskel Shimon Alevi ben Yehudis.
Yecheskel Shimon Alevi ben Yehudis. And I give us all a bracha to have a good eye in physical, but also spiritual.
Oh, man. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So let's talk about what we're talking about Sukkot here. So it's, what it says about Sukkot, the commandment of Sukkot, it says that you should 7 days you should dwell in the Sukkot. Teshu b'Sukkah. Why? Because why? To remember that your forefathers came out of Egypt. So you should remember that event that the Jews came out of Egypt, and in order that you should sit in the Sukkah, all Ezrach, all the native born of Israel. And the Rebbe has multiple memorim about this, because almost everything in that line needs explanation because it doesn't go together. So the first idea is Sukkah. What is the idea of a Sukkah, and why are we doing it now? In fact, historically, this is the only holiday that doesn't really connect to a particular time. The Pesach meant we came out of Egypt. Hanukkah meant it was about the Hanukkah story with the Hashmonayim. Purim had a story associated with it. Shavuos was the giving of the Torah. Sukkot doesn't have a date. It's not about Pesach, because that's not the date that we came out of Egypt. It's somewhere else. So why is it coming after Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur? Why is that the sequence? And what does Sukkah mean? Sukkah means, so what does Sukkah mean? Sukkah means a tent, a dwelling place, a covering. Literally, the schach is the main idea, that it covers over. It has to have more shade than light inside of there. So it's the idea of a building, really. That's what it is. The sukkah is a temporary dwelling place. The Rebbe points out, what is the difference between that, which protects you, and clothes, which also protect you from the elements. It's raining today, so I don't know if it's raining in New York. It's raining here right now. and cold and wet, and clothes protect you. You got to take an umbrella. It's got to go outside. Clothes have to be made to fit you. They have to, and they're different clothes you have for different parts of your body. It's not the same thing. You don't wear what you wear on the lower part of your body on the higher part of your body. The hat doesn't go on the sleeves. Okay, everything has to be specific and tailored to that particular person and part of the body. The sukkah doesn't have that. You go put it in your whole body, and it doesn't make any difference if you're big or small or whatever. Everybody goes inside of it. So, spiritually and kabbalistically, it means sukkah is an encompassing mitzvah. It's above you. It's beyond you. It's bigger than you. It's around you. And your whole body goes inside of it. As we say, you're even doing a mitzvah every time you're in there, even if you're not aware of it. And every part of your body is doing the mitzvah. Candle lighting you do with your hands, and the eating, the blessing, make food you do with your mouth. It covers the whole being. It's makif in Hebrew. It's encompassing. So in that respect, it's the opposite of sitting. Sitting is drawing in, sitting, being in, internalizing the stuff. So how do you internalize something that's bigger than you? That's the idea of sukkahs. Sukkot is about bringing something down, a new energy, a new capability that never was in this world before, and yet it's making it part of our lives, part of our day-to-day experience, part of who we are, and part of how we get up and go and our ability to accomplish in the day. And we have to do that. That's what it is. You sit in the sukkah and you accomplish that. Through the mitzvah of sukkahs, you actually bring down this new energy. So what happened? So on Rosh Hashanah, we said, we brought in a whole new year, a whole new energy. Did we see it? No, we didn't see it yet. It doesn't come about on Rosh Hashanah. On Rosh Hashanah, the decree is made, you're signed for a good year. God clearly has an investment in you, and he wants you to have a good year. And and if you don't have a good year, he's not having a good year. So, so we spent time on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur aligning ourselves, realizing, that, I know, God, you want me to have a good year. I'm not worried that you're not going to give me a good year because this is your business and you want me to have a good year and you want me to have all those blessings that I'm supposed to have. But we need to be aligned with that. And that's what we're doing on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, is we're coming alignment and understanding, hey, we're part of a mission here, part of God's mission. And that helps bring down and channel the energy into ourselves. But not that we're scared or worried or fearful about what's going to happen in the next year. The year is going to be a good year. It's going to be a year of blessings, but we need to be aligned with that. We have to be in tune with that. We have to be connected with that. So that's what we do on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, but it's still concealed. And as the rabbis explained, it says, the main thing on Yom Kippur was that the Kohen Gadol went into the Holy of Holies, the holiest person in the world, went into the holiest place on the holiest day of the year. But he had to do it in a way with smoke. He brought in the Taurus, incense, and he filled the whole place with smoke. And the smoke means a concealment, meaning on Yom Kippur, yet still we do not see this. It realized the blessings of the year. It's still in an amorphous form. It's still in the smoke form. That smoke becomes the schach of the sukkah. It becomes the shade of the sukkah. And that's what we dwell in. We bring that energy down into our day-to-day thing. By eating in the sukkah, by doing day-to-day activities in the sukkah, sleeping in the sukkah, living in the sukkah, we're actually taking and starting to bring all the new beauty and energy that we had on Rosh Hashanah and Kippur into the sukkah. And in fact, that is also why it is accustomed to actually make the Daled Minim, the lulav and the esrog in the sukkah, and to make the blessing of the lulav and esrog in the sukkah. Because we want that energy we want to do something. We have to do an action, a mitzvah. And we do our first big mitzvah of the year with lulav and esrog in the sukkah to start making it to bring that energy down into this world through doing a mitzvah. And therefore we do the lulav and esrog. And that helps bring unity in the entire Jewish people. Because as we know, the lulav and the esrog are all about unity. Every part of it, the lulav has branches that go off, But we only take the middle one because we want them all connected together, like the Jewish people should all be united together. The Hadassim all come in threes. That's also an idea of everything, all the leaves are connected together at one point. They're all united together. The Aravos grows in brotherhood. They all grow together by the river. So, and the Esrog, of course, we know really represents that because it stays on the tree all the year, in fact, for 2 years at least, if not 3, and grows in all the seasons, which is an idea of tremendous unity. And all of this is done inside of the sukkah, and the sukkah has to have 4 walls because the sukkah, well, it should have 3 at least because the sukkah is a hug. And you can't hug a person with just one arm. With one, you have to show, you have to have this arm and at least a little bit, and that's the hug of Hashem. And you know why people there's many ways that you can show love. God is showing love. You can talk to the person, you can say words of love, you can give a person a kiss, you can look in their eyes deeply. Why is the sukkah the idea that's mostly talked about the love of Hashem? Because there's a special thing about a hug. That is, a hug means that you lose control. Somebody else is hugging you, and you're stuck. You're stuck in the hug. You're bound together, and that's what God is saying. He says, "I'm not letting you go. I'm connected with you. I want to hug you. You can't get loose. You're not getting away here. I'm hugging you." And kids like that, because it means no matter what, you're bound together with me. So there we go. There's the sukkah. There's the hug. The hug of the sukkahs. The hug of the sukkahs is what we're looking for. This is the kind of feeling that we want to have on sukkahs. We want to know that we are in God's hug. He is hugging us, and that He is help, and we are bringing this into our lives, and we are bringing it into everything in particular that we do. And sometimes, so here was the story that I said I was going to say last week, and that is there was once a court case. And the criminal, everybody knew he was a criminal. It was like one of these open shut cases that you knew that he was a murderer. And the trial was going pretty quickly through it. And the lawyer didn't want to give up so easily. So he came up with a brilliant strategy. So for his closing arguments, he said, "I know it looks really bad for my client. And I know that the prosecutor has brought all these good arguments that why he's guilty. But he just didn't do one thing, and that is he never brought the body. He never showed that the person was actually dead. And I'm going to tell you the following." He says, "In the next 5 minutes, look at the back of the room, at the door, and you will see that the person who he supposedly killed is going to walk through that door." And everybody turned around. Everybody in the jury box looked around. Everybody in the courtroom looked around. The judge was staring. He was staring. Everybody was staring at the back of the room, waiting for the door to open up and for the dead person to walk through. And the minutes went by, and nobody walked in. And the lawyer said, "Well, I have to be honest here. And that is, I was playing a game here. I knew that he wasn't going to walk through, but I want to point out just one point here, and this is the following." He says, "It may be that nobody walked through, but you are so convinced that my client is guilty, and yet you looked. If you were 100% convinced and there was no doubt in your mind, you wouldn't have looked back at all. You wouldn't have even suspected anything. So the fact that you all looked and you stared and you were watching must mean that there's an element of doubt. And if there's doubt in your mind, the court rules are as follows. You're supposed to let him go off. You cannot convict somebody while you still have a suspicion that he might be innocent." And with that, he closed his case. The jury went to the jury room, stayed in the box for a while, came back out. The foreman handed the slip to the judge. The judge opens up the slip, and he says, "It's unanimous. The guy is guilty." And the lawyer jumps up and he says, "Wait a second. What happened to my argument? I had a brilliant argument here. How come you called him, I don't understand, jury. How could you possibly have said he's guilty?" So the foreman said to him, he says, "You're right. We all did. And we all looked back and we all looked at the door and we all, but you know what? there was just one person in the court who did not look back. That was your client. He didn't look at the door. And we all noticed that because he knew that there was nobody coming there. So that's why we considered him guilty. What's the moral of the story? What's the point of the story? The story is that sometimes we go through Rosh Hashanah and through Yom Kippur, and we're not sure still whether God really loves us and whether God really accepted our prayers and whether our slate is 100% clean. And therefore, we still feel, you know what, that we have to go Hashem the Bagad, that we're still not clean. We say Marav right after Yom Kippur, 30 seconds after the shofar blows, we're saying Marav, and we're already saying that God forgives sins. How many sins can a person have done between the time that you blew the shofar and now you're starting Marav? Not many people can sin so fast, you know? It takes a while. And that's what I think it's the Sfas Emes says. It says what we're apologizing for is the fact that we don't really think that God really heard us and God really cared about us and God didn't. And somehow we had to do more in Yom Kippur, we had to do more in Rosh Hashanah, and we had to do more on the Seres made Tshuva. And for that, we have to actually apologize to Hashem because we're doubting Him that He actually does love us. So that doubt and that suspicion's got to go. And that's why that will be, otherwise we'll have a blockage of the joy of Sukkot. And now we have to know that the time is over for all of the regrets and the time is now for rejoicing. Is everything perfect in this world? As I said, it takes time. It takes till Sukkot. It takes until we get to the holiday where things start changing around and so forth. There are reasons to see in the world and saying everything's not all perfect yet. Certainly not everything's perfect in the Eretz Yisrael. But now is the time to start rejoicing. And through the rejoicing and through the joy and through the simcha, we actually will change. And this year, the Simchas Torah will be a completely different kind of Simchas Torah. Not even Hashem. There's going to be a completely different simcha, a completely different joy, and that's what we're going to do in the next coming days on Sukkot, and that's our task for the next days, is to really, really, really celebrate because we know, we trust, we have emunah, we have faith in God, and He certainly has faith in us. And that, I will turn over the mic to my better half.
Thank you, and I request that next week you have a class also to help support us, also because of Simchas Torah coming up. Are you going to have a class on Chol Hamoed?
Of course.
Were you planning on? Oh, you were. Okay, fine. Okay, I'll be quiet.
I don't know if you have time for question, but if you can turn off recording.
I can pause. Yes, sure.
Pause.
Yeah. So recording is back on. Shalom Meshudas, go right ahead.
Okay, good. Thank you so much. Oh my, here it is. Okay. Okay, hello, everybody.
Good evening.
Nice to see you. Any other questions before we begin?
My room is dark, so I can't be seen, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I can't see you. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to go straight in. And I'm talking about a similar thing to Haskell Shimon. First, I'm going to begin with the four things that we always say. Number one, we're in an extraordinary time. We really are. And absolutely extraordinary. And the only reason I say that is because the Rebbe said that we are in the beginning of the unfolding of the redemption, what Jewish people have waited for a long, long, long time. And our souls were handpicked to be here at this very, very important moment in history because we have a role to play, an important role to play, each one of us. And that's why we were brought back. You know, we were all here before. Most of us have been here at least a couple times before. A Jewish soul, most neshamas have been here 2 or 3 times, and have been here 2 or 3 times. But the reason we're here now is because there's something in our soul that has a part of our soul has an incredibly important mission here now. And whether you're on campus, whether you're at home, whether you're at a workplace, you have a very, very important job. And Hashem believes in you and trusts you. Next, we have all the power tools. We have the mitzvahs, which are our power tools, and we have the Torah, which is our guidebook on how to navigate this time. We have great rabbis, and we have the Lubavitch Rebbe who explains this time more more eloquently than anybody I've ever come across. And finally, what we're doing here tonight, learning about Mashiach, actively advances the cause of Mashiach. And let me not hesitate to say that the Rebbe hinted broadly that he is Mashiach. And he hinted broadly that he is Mashiach. And he said that the grave will have no dominion over him, over the leader of the generation. So anyway, and we can see by the letters that the miracles continue to flow, absolutely gush and flow. So so the title of the class was "You Have a Champion," and a lot of times, probably in every Jew's life, unless you're on a very high level, you have moments where you feel like I'm the needy one, I'm needy, and Hashem has, and why doesn't he give? And I need, and I'm not getting, and or maybe it's not you, maybe it's like the world needs, and what are you doing? The world needs, Israel needs, what are you doing? Right? So we have that side of us. I think it's just a natural foible from living in this world and having a human perspective as opposed to a godly perspective. So so anyway, but the fact of the matter is that that Hashem is much more on our side than we ourselves are. He is our champion, and he is so wedded to our success and so in love with us, much more than we love ourselves. Hashem loves us. There's no comparison, absolutely no comparison. Much more than your mother loves you, Hashem loves you. Much more than your father loves you, Hashem loves you. So I'm going to tell. I might have told it once before, a long time ago, but I'm going to tell it again. It was like we each have parts to us that we have no clue about. We have, our neshama is a veritable piece of godliness. It's a piece of Hashem, literally, in each one of us. And that's why it's a mitzvah to honor every other Jew, because they have a different part of Hashem in them. They have a different spark of Hashem in them than you do. So if you scorn another Jew, you're scorning a piece of Hashem, a piece of godliness, a piece of God. So anyway, this story goes back to probably like 1996, something like that. My first years in Boston. I moved to Boston in December 1994, and in December, probably I think it was around 96. Our synagogue was
from where, Shulamis? From where you moved? From where?
From Brooklyn.
Oh, okay.
I spent this funny story. I lived in Muncie for many years, and my roommate and I were both, unhappily single. We were happy, but we were unhappy about being single. And a woman who was an extraordinary soul, not alive anymore. She told us, "You guys, you're just too comfortable, and you don't understand each other too well. You need to be a little uncomfortable. Then you'll want to get married more." Anyway, so we took her advice. We split up and we moved to Brooklyn. And within 9 months, I was married, and a few months later, she was married. And so my sojourn in Brooklyn was short. Anyway, after I got married, I moved to Boston. And probably the second winter I was here, probably 1996, something like that, or fall, when it was Yom Kippur, and our synagogue didn't have a building of its own. We rented the basement of a conservative synagogue, and in that basement, okay, that's where we had Rosh Hashanah. That's where we had Yom Kippur, and I'd been learning Hasidus for a few years already. I didn't have anything compared to the knowledge that I have now, and in Rosh Hashanah I should have much more also in the years to come. But anyway, I had some knowledge, and when we got to there was a young girl davening next to me, and she was a new Balas Tshuva, and she was very, very, very inspired by the stuff she learned. And I think when it got to when the Chazan announced that it was time for Ne'ilah, she went, Ne'ilah, because of the closeness that you have with Hashem. I don't know if this was that same year, or maybe it was a different year where I had my Ne'ilah experience. But I was not emotional like her. I was like, whatever. I was just it was time for Ne'ilah. And I knew from my learning that on Ne'ilah, at the time of Ne'ilah, it's your soul, you can experience the deepest level of your soul. The soul has, in general, 5 levels. It has the basic level, which is the nefesh, which is the part of the soul that enlivens the body. And then it has the ruach, that's the second level. And that's the part of the neshama that gives life to your emotions. And then there's the part that's called neshama. And that is the part that gives life to your intellect. And those 3 levels are housed in your body. But there are 2 levels that are not even housed in your body. They're above your body, but they belong to you, but they belong to your neshama. The 4th level, which is above, it's one of the 2 that are above your body. It's called the chaya. The chaya. So we already talked about a level that enlivens the body, a level that enlivens the emotions, a level that enlivens your intellect, and the chaya gives you the ability. Your chaya gives a person the ability to do beyond what they can understand intellectually. It's the ability to transcend. And then there's the ultimate level, which is the yechida, and the yechida is oneness, where you're completely one with God. So anyway, the only time of year that your soul, that you, the Jew, can access the yechida, the highest level of your soul, is on Ne'ilah. You can also access it in times of emergency and a crisis. Sometimes the Ne'ilah will surface. Sometimes the yechida will surface. But anyway, in general, the time to access it, the 5th level of the soul, is in the 5th service of Yom Kippur, which is Ne'ilah. So anyway, there I was in shul, and I'd had an ordinary, nice Yom Kippur, right? And now we're at Ne'ilah, and I took my siddur, and I was thinking, it's Ne'ilah. You know what they say about Ne'ilah? You can access the 5th level of your soul. How interesting, very interesting. And I started davening, and then I thought, you know what? Forgive me if you heard the story before, but it really was one of the most powerful experiences of my life. So as I opened the siddur, and I was thinking, you can in this prayer service you can access the highest level of your soul, and then I had a random thought. It says that when you picture a rebbe, when you picture a great tzaddik, not just an ordinary tzaddik, but a great tzaddik, it can also yank up the 5th level of your soul, the yechida. It can pull it out. So I was thinking, and much like it was I was completely dry-eyed. I was just thinking, how interesting. What if I picture the Rebbe during Ne'ilah? They both access the 5th level of the soul. That's a good technique. Let's do that. Let's picture the Rebbe during Ne'ilah. And without any emotion, just like like a little kid who's curious and sticks their finger into an electric socket to see, what's this going to do? That's exactly how I did it, with no great spiritual uplift. I just thought, well, I'm going to picture the Rebbe when I'm saying the words of Ne'ilah, and then all of a sudden I heard a voice, and the voice was coming from my mouth, and the voice was sobbing. I was sobbing within seconds. I was sobbing, and this is what I was saying. I was saying, Hashem, you don't even have 4 walls to call your own. Hashem, you don't even have 4 walls. You have nothing. You don't have 4 walls to call your home. And I was experiencing I was experiencing the exile of the Shekhinah. I was experiencing on a real life level that Hashem, since the temple has been destroyed, Hashem doesn't have a home. It's a completely abstract concept to me, 364 days a year. And now, when I picture the Rebbe during the Elah, I all of a sudden I felt the reality. I felt terrible pain for Hashem that he doesn't even have a home. Terrible, terrible pain. And afterwards, after Ne'ilah was over, tears streaming down my cheeks, I thought, what was that? Who was that? What was that? That was me. But that was the part of me that you can't access. That's a part of me that you can't access. And what was I accessing? I was accessing Hashem's pain. That Hashem has pain. Hashem has pain that he doesn't have a house, that he doesn't have a home, that he's separated from us, that the Jews think of him as who knows what. The Jews think of him in all sorts of crazy ways. And he's the father of us all. So we have these distorted ideas about Hashem. And we forget that not only are we in pain, Hashem is in pain, and Hashem knows more than we do, and he knows what he's doing. And even though we're big critics, we have our own view. We have to remember that there is no one who is our champion like Hashem is our champion. Hashem is putting each one of us in our situation because he believes in us much more than we do, much more than our parents do, much more than anybody on earth does. And that knowledge that you have a champion, that somebody who is trustworthy, you think, what is happening to the world? What is Hashem doing? But Hashem is totally trustworthy. Hashem is way beyond our own calculations. And Hashem is doing something that we, when all is said and done, we're a millennia-long standing ovation is not going to satisfy. We're not going to be satisfied with doing that for Hashem, because we're going to see the whole picture. We're going to see everything. We're going to see everything in its context. So anyway, just knowing that we have a champion who sees everything, who understands everything, and who is designing this not for his good, but for our best, our own best good, is something that brings calm and something that brings happiness. And I didn't have an easy Yom Kippur. I was like so upset about Eretz Yisrael and all these different things. I was so upset. But by Ne'ilah, I understood, okay, Shalom Sehudis, we're just going to trust Hashem. We're going to do it. And in my own personal life, when I'm in, a real pickle, at least since then also, I just say, Shalom Sehudis, it's going to work out. Because Hashem is in control. It's going to work out. It's going to work out. And anyway, so it goes better when we remember that we have, if you have a champion who's on your side, much easier to live life that way. And Baruch Hashem, it's the absolute truth. So I'm going to turn off the recording and ask for questions. Something.
Oh, before you turn the recording on.
I did. It's on.
No, I wanted to say one thing. When you and your roommate moved to Brooklyn, I was left alone in Muncie with no friends to go to places for Shabbos, and I'm not married yet, and it's not so easy at all.
Of course it's not. Of course it's not. Sorry, I'm going to make a comment in connection to Golda's comment, and then I'm going to come back to this.
Fine. Okay.
So,
anyway.
Okay, good. So
I just wanted to remember that.
Of course, I thought about it as I said it. So anyway, Golda just made a comment when we were offline, and it's a very important part of the story that I told. It's not that okay, I knew that picturing a great tzaddik, picturing and not just a regular tzaddik, but a leader of the generation, and having the Ila together, I knew that they were both a way to access the yechida of your soul, the highest level of your soul. And but I don't want it's not like a gimmick. It's because it's because the Rebbe, because Mashiach is we share a neshama. So every one of us has a piece of Mashiach's soul in us, and he has a piece of our soul. And so it was like it it's it, the Rebbe opened my channel to be able to my channel of connection to Hashem to be able to experience that. And there's I don't know how. I really don't know how the Rebbe does these things. I don't know how the miracles roll on the carpet, but I know that Rebbe has access to all levels of heaven, and there's so many incredible stories about that. So I just want to say it wasn't a little gimmick. It's because the Rebbe facilitates a Jew's bond with Hashem. He doesn't stand in between. He facilitates the connection, like somebody taking a link here and a link here and joining them. He facilitates our bond with Hashem. So thank you, Golda, for that comment. Okay, and now I'm going to turn the recording off again.